The beauty of the Nikki Haley for President campaign is that it's a national Rorschach blot. If you have any interest at all in the condition of the United States or its future, obviously you are passionately, by definition, opposed to Nikki Haley becoming president because she has no interest in the United States or its future. But if you are completely bought in to the class of people who currently run the country and who are running it into the ground, then you're all in on Nikki Haley because she's, in effect, your puppet.
Ms. Haley seemed almost delighted that Mr. Ramaswamy raised her stilettos. It gave her an opportunity to emphasize this most feminine of objects while also turning the moment around on her male rival. "I'd first like to say they're 5-inch heels," she corrected, "and I don't wear 'em unless you can run in 'em. The second thing that I will say is, I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement, they're for ammunition. It's always bad when politicians, faced with a serious moral dilemma, put self-interest ahead of public service. It's even worse when they know better and do it anyway."
Is, as we speak, ready to sell out, and they're ready to sell out fake border reform in exchange for what they really want, which is to send more of your tax dollars to Ukraine. I think Nikki Haley fits right in that camp. I think she's from the McConnell, Dick Cheney wing of the party, and this is the antithesis of everything I believe in. I've spent a few years trying to promote the ideas of liberty. There is a wing of the party that believes in that, and I want to make sure anybody that follows what I do knows that there's no way, shape, or form I could support Nikki Haley.
So obviously you're not increasing your contributions from the defense industry by attacking Nikki Haley. So I'm just guessing Raytheon's not paying you to do this. They're on her side. So it's purely a passion project for you.
This week brings us a troubling new chapter in the story of Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. He, a person who wouldn't know a moral dilemma if the snake in the Garden of Eden bit him on the ankle, and she, someone who understands what's at stake when the most powerful person in the United States is unhinged and eager to shower punishment on those who dare defy him. On Monday, Haley, who was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations under the former president, said she would support him if he ran again in 2024 and wouldn't run against him. Haley is a prominent star in the GOP and was widely assumed to be running in the next presidential race. She's smart, accomplished. She was also the governor of South Carolina, charismatic, highly qualified, politically ambitious, and the rare woman of color in the Republican Party. And she is a coward. There are several reasons why. Other evidence to the contrary. Cowardice should disqualify a candidate from a shot at leading the nation. Americans deserve leaders who will put the public interest first and who believe they are the best possible person for the job and are willing to fight for it. Failing that, they deserve a leader who will make a measured decision to cede power to someone, perhaps a more popular figure, who they think will serve the country honorably, ably and well. Haley is doing neither of those things. She's giving up preemptively so that a man she knows is destructive and incompetent can potentially reclaim power over her country. It's dishonest and indicates that Haley has ceded any claim she has to the public's trust. This decision should dim her prospects on the national stage. She clearly fears Trump and his base, and doesn't seem to think she can win a primary in today's Trump-obedient GOP with, potentially, the former president as rival. Worse still, She's unwilling to publicly challenge him, even though she knows well, and has publicly expressed concern over the danger he poses.
You know, we won New Hampshire 3 times now, three. We win it every time. We win the primary, we win the generals, we've won it, and it's a very, very special place to me. It's very important. If you remember, in 2016, we came here and we needed that win, and we won by 21 points, and it was great. And today, I have to tell you, it was very interesting because I said, wow, what a great victory. But then somebody ran up to the stage all dressed up nicely when it was at 7. But now I just walked up and it's at 14. But she ran up when it was 7. And, you know, we have to do what's good for our party. And she was up and I said, wow, she's doing like a speech like she won. She didn't win, she lost. And you know, last week we had a little bit of a problem, and if you remember, Ron was very upset because she ran up and she pretended she won Iowa. And I looked around, I said, didn't she come in 3rd? Yeah, she came in 3rd. And then I looked at the polls. She was talking about most winnability, who's going to win, and I had one put up. I don't know if you see it, but I have one put up. We've won almost every single poll in the last 3 months against crooked Joe Biden, almost every poll. And she doesn't win those polls. And she doesn't win those. This is not your typical victory speech, but let's not have somebody take a victory when she had a very bad night. She had a very bad night.
Haley and Trump have been doing this dance for years now. In 2016, when Trump first ran for president, Haley said she would support any Republican candidate except him, calling him everything a governor doesn't want in a president. After he won the nomination, she changed her tune somewhat, saying that while the election was embarrassing for both parties, she was planning to vote for Trump.
Only if Trump loses badly enough to carry down what he has built, which is a Republican Party in his own image, which is populist, right-wing, instead of what I would call more conventionally conservative, which is what a lot of Midwestern voters are. That's why it was so surprising in a way that Trump was such a convincing winner in Iowa, which is a Midwestern state where voters are kind of conventional conservatives. By that I mean that they're Reaganite type conservatives. They don't want to blow up the kitchen stove. They want lower taxes. But there's also a division in the party about internationalism. We could talk about that if you want, but that's also a real departure from the older Ronald Reagan. We fight the Soviet Union. Remember, you may not remember, but you may have read that somebody asked him once what was his idea about the Cold War, and he said, "We win, they lose." And real clear, real straightforward. But it seems like the country is so much more divided now. And it seems like the divisions have an almost religious quality, I think. Don't you, Brittany? I mean, people aren't just wrong on the other side. They're apostates. They're going to burn in hell.
Former President Donald Trump leads President Biden with just over 50% support in Georgia, a state Biden won by less than 1 point in 2020. That's according to a Fox News survey of Georgia registered voters released Thursday. Just over half of Peach State voters, 51%, say they would support Trump in a hypothetical head-to-head rematch, while 43% say they'd go for Biden.
First off, New Atlanta Journal-Constitution polling shows President Biden trailing former President Trump in Georgia by a whopping 8 points. Meanwhile, 19% of respondents say they hadn't decided yet between the two. Since the AJC's last polling just 2 months ago, Biden has dropped 7 percentage points in the Peach State.
ABC polling released last week finds just 33% of the country approves of Joe Biden's job performance thus far, a record low for his presidency and for any president in the last 15 years. Worse for Biden, just 28% of respondents said they believed he has the, quote, mental sharpness to serve another 4 years. Even rapper Meek Mill weighed in. He was flamed on Twitter yesterday for stating what many Americans are clearly already thinking. He wrote, "Joe Biden is too old to be our president. Respectfully, WTF is going on in the American system that y'all are pushing this through like it's okay to trust what we're seeing. We're talking missiles, advanced technology, mental and physical warfare. That's not a lane for the older."
That puts Trump ahead by 8 points outside the poll's margin of sampling error. 8 in 10 Georgians, 78%, say they are extremely or very interested in the race, and the vote breakdown among this subgroup is similar. 52% would go for Trump and 43% Biden. Trump receives strong support from his base, including white evangelicals, 85%, conservatives, 76%, white voters without a college degree, 74%, and rural voters, 67%. For Biden, it's liberals, 87%, black voters, 71%, voters with a college degree, 52%, and suburban women, 52%. Democrats and Republicans are equally likely to support their respective candidates, 91% each, while independents go for Trump by 20 points, 51%, 31%. It also helps Trump that more Republicans, 83%, than Democrats, 78%, are interested in the election.
I voted for Biden, and I told my friends to as well.
Evan McKenzie is a Starbucks worker and union organizer in Madison, Wisconsin, who cast his very first presidential ballot for Joe Biden.
Do you plan on voting for him this time around?
No, not anymore.
The 23-year-old was part of the surge in young voters in the liberal Dane County that helped Biden flip the battleground state 3 years ago. He's now angry at the president over his support for Israel's invasion of Gaza.
He is allowing this war to happen and is funding this war. I don't know what will happen if I don't vote for him, but I know it won't be me supporting that.
In 2020, Election Day exit polls showed young voters backed Biden over Donald Trump by more than 20 points. But a recent NBC News poll shows former President Trump leading this group by 4 percentage points, and President Biden at risk of losing a key part of his winning coalition.
Do you plan on voting for him in November?
I don't know.
60% of young voters say they oppose more funding and military aid to Israel.
On climate, on COVID responses, you could tell his administration were doing really great work. But I think after October 7th, the question became a matter of human rights.
Republican presidential candidates have also vocally supported Israel's campaign against Hamas, but it's President Biden's young progressive base that's been increasingly sympathetic to Palestinians.
Biden is taking a hit with younger voters as those under age 35 go for Trump by 7 points. A majority says Biden was legitimately elected in 2020, 60%, yet over 2 in 10, 22% of that subgroup would vote for Trump in 2024. About a third, 32%, believe Biden's victory was suspect, and they overwhelmingly go for the former president, 97% Trump. Given that the Democrats won major U.S. Senate races in 2020 and 2022, Trump's strength in this poll is somewhat surprising, says Republican pollster Darren Shaw, who conducts the Fox News poll with Democrat Chris Anderson. We can blather on correctly about how anything can happen, but the reality is Biden may want to shift his focus and precious resources away from Georgia and onto other potential battleground states, such as North Carolina.
Democrats are panicking like never before over new swing state polls showing Joe Biden getting demolished by Donald Trump. The former president, you like that, huh? The former president is making huge inroads with key groups that carried Biden to the White House. A Democratic congresswoman getting confronted over why black voters are losing faith in Biden. But all she could do was insult their intelligence.
Their feelings are dictating their reality. Their reality is that they said that they feel better or they felt better when Trump was in office. But we've been trying to push back. We've got some very popular African-American artists that are out here saying things like, oh, I got checks when Trump was in office. I want those checks again. We also have an issue as it relates to civics in this country and people not understanding exactly how any of this works.
And Morning Joe is having a new meltdown over Biden's bad poll numbers. He thinks the problem is they're not going after Trump hard enough.
Whoever inside the White House is telling Joe Biden not to attack Donald Trump, stop it. Seriously, stop it, all right? And maybe start a lawn service with push lawnmowers, because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're costing the president.
In a potential five-way race, Trump still leads the pack, but both the former president and current incumbent lose support to third-party candidates. Trump gets 45%, while Biden drops to 37% support. Other candidates receive a total of 12% support. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., 8%, Cornel West, 3%, and Jill Stein, 1%. Former President Donald Trump turned on 2024 GOP rival Nikki Haley late Tuesday and early Wednesday, with less than a week to go before what many observers see as a must-win New Hampshire primary for the former South Carolina governor. Anyone listening to Nikki Haley's whacked-out speech last night would think that she won the Iowa primary. She didn't. Trump posted on Truth Social. Nikki came in a distant third. Haley's full name is Nimrata Nikki Haley, and her critics have often used her given first name to draw unflattering attention to her Indian heritage. She said she would never run against me. He was a great president, and she should have followed her own advice. Now she's stuck with weak policies and a very strong MAGA base, and there's just nothing she can do, Trump went on.
In what position is she to make demands of the person who just defeated her in 2 straight states? I mean, Trump's strategy of staying out of these debates has proven to be smart, obviously. Is he really going to change course on that? He's not scrambling for attention.
There's not a groundswell of people saying we want to hear a debate between those two. I mean,
well, yeah, there is. They're called Democrats.
Well, no, and the reality, again, is the GOP is Trump's party. He has actually put in place, since 2016, he has been working to have the systems in place to most favor him in the election ahead. So even with her, I think she has maybe more confidence than she should in South Carolina, because she was a popular 2-term governor, but that was many years ago. It's a very different state now. I think she's hoping to outperform there, but she is going to feel the weight of the world of pressure from elected Republicans saying, get out of the way, it needs to be Donald Trump. What she's going to be weighing right now is there's a very real chance he's convicted in the middle of this general election cycle. If she bows out and supports him, she could be the person that the party then comes around and turns to replace him.
The calendar here is also going to kill her, right? Because the South Carolina primary is not until February 24th. So, tonight is probably the night where she has the most momentum behind her. And that is only, to the point that Van was making, that you're making, Alyssa. I mean, that is only going to wane.
Haley's team quickly shrugged off the tirade against her as desperation on the part of the 77-year-old. Donald Trump is attacking Nikki for one reason. She's got the momentum, and he's scared. Campaign spokesperson Anne-Marie Graham Barnes told the Post, "This is a 2-person race between Nikki and Trump. Voters have a choice: the chaos, drama, and personal grievances of the past, or a new generation of conservative leadership." Trump also reposted clips from his Tuesday night speech in Atkinson, NH, in which he warned, Haley is counting on the Democrats and liberals to infiltrate your Republican Party. The former president likened Nikki Haley to Hillary Clinton.
He has turned those attacks on Nikki Haley in recent days on his Truth Social platform, referring to her by her given first name, Nimrata, although he misspelled it. That's also classic Trump. He also recently amplified a post falsely claiming that Haley was not eligible to run for president because her parents were not U.S. citizens at the time that she was born. And then there's this, an image we're going to show you briefly, and then I'm taking it down, but just so you can kind of get a flavor of this, it is not the first time Nikki Haley has been compared to Hillary Clinton, but it is the first time that I have seen it done this way by a former president of the United States. It, of course, copies Hillary Clinton's campaign logo as well.
In a news release Wednesday, Haley's campaign pointed to a slew of public opinion polling over the past year, which indicates that a majority of Americans are anything but enthused about a Biden-Trump presidential election rematch in November. Haley's campaign calls it the rematch no one wants. Nearly 50% of Republicans and 70% of Americans don't want to watch grumpy old men stumble across America when our country is on the brink and the world is on fire, Haley spokesperson Olivia Perez Cubas argued. Sadly, this version of grumpy old men offers no comic relief, just chaos, confusion, and a bad sense of déjà vu for the American people. Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt argued in a statement to Fox News on Wednesday that the only people who will be grumpy this election are Nikki Haley, who has no pathway to victory, Joe Biden, who is losing to President Trump in every single battleground state, and all of their Democrat donors when they are defeated by President Trump.
Yeah, this is a big moment for Nikki Haley's campaign and her viability. Many of these polls closed at 4 p.m. our time, and it did not take long after the final ones closed just a few minutes ago to make a call. Mr. Trump is now the first Republican candidate to win open races in Iowa and New Hampshire since they began leading the election calendar in 1976. I want to give you a look at the numbers from the Granite State as they come in. Again, Haley's future riding on these margins. The AP declaring Trump the projected winner. You can see with about 17% of these precincts reporting, Trump leads Haley 54 to 45%. That's about 9% difference just in the early goings. Haley is counting on independent voters in the state, about 45% of the electorate, to pick her. Those undeclared voters can vote in the Republican primary. Haley and Trump were both in New Hampshire today, making a last-minute blitz for votes.
What a load of crap this woman is talking. All her failures are due to her long tongue. It's fun to watch her and Biden. Everyone has turned their backs on them, and nothing will help them. Write your opinion in the comments, and do not forget to watch other shocking news on our channel.